big warm welcome again, Chris. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it highly for you to be here, sharing your knowledge. I know it's a topic that you feel extremely passionate about. That's been coming up in lots of your coachings, and that is how to build pipeline through the power of referrals, and how to ask for referrals, how to generate referrals, which is something that many salespeople just don't do or shy away from. So that's what you're going to talk about. Before we do that, a few things about you for the audience to know, Chris. You are a high-rise ambassador, friend. You've been with us for a year, training many of our high-risers coming to the academy. You've also been in sales for, I think, 15 years now this year. It's your anniversary in B2B, B2C roles. I think 5 or 6 of those companies were SaaS. You're also VP sales now at Sparks, which I believe is a business coaching platform. We met at Booking Kit, another SaaS platform before that. So you have lots of relevant experience. And with that being said, without further ado, I'm handing it over to you. And to everyone else, feel free to ask questions anytime. Okay, so you don't have to hold back till the end.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Also, I might get back to you because I have a couple of questions also to the audience that I think I can't see the chat. So I kind of rely on you or Max or whoever is here to
Max is, yep, and Max is active as well. So Max is the hidden moderator. Max used the Q&A window, so you can use the Q&A or you can use the chat, whichever you like. Both work.
Awesome. Because I would be extremely curious what kind of positions we have dialed in, so we can also tailor the content a bit more specific towards, are we speaking more SDR roles, AE roles, or are we even having managers, for example, in here? I'd be, of course, really curious to hear that before we get started. While you might type that into the chat, what we're going to cover today, I think Dom mentioned it already. We're going to speak about the power of referrals and how to constantly generate pipeline to referrals. And we're going to speak about the mindset topic, like why should we generate, ask for referrals, about the impact that it might have on our pipeline, of course, also then on our income, on our the well-being of the company, when to ask and whom to ask. And of course, we make room for a lot of questions, because I think that's also, of course, quite important to really make it relevant for you. With that being said, I think we can dive in. But Dom, do you have like some answers from the chat?
I do not. I've asked the question to all of you in the chat. Please answer. So, what is your current role? Are you, an individual contributor, SDR? Are you an AE? Are you a sales manager? There are not that many dialed in today, so do not shy away. Okay, you use it really as an almost one-to-few session. So please share, what is your current level of experience? That would help extremely. I'll let you know as answers come in. Other than that, I would assume right now that it's more on the junior level, that people that we have dialed in from what I saw before.
So I think, and you also mentioned, why is this topic something that I'm extremely passionate about? Is when I started sales, which is, as I said, like about 15 years ago, I was kind of my probably early 20s, beginning of basically 20 years old, starting in sales. And I was doing B2B sales at the time, selling finance products. And you come to the conclusion quite quickly when you sell to people that you know quite well, and you don't really want to sell to all of the people that you know, that you need to find your way out of there. You need to generate referrals out of your customers. And when I started in SaaS, which turned out to work very well, and when I started in software sales, I figured this is something that basically nobody does. People don't ask for referrals, and I don't know, or didn't know why this is. And that's probably also the point why I'm extremely passionate about it, because I think most sales reps that I know, and I think I've seen a few now, training them, I've seen a couple of those, working with them closely. Nearly every sales rep struggles to constantly build pipeline, or enough pipeline. And, and that's, of course, something which is extremely challenging, because we know how it is, right? We have this volatility in our pipeline. Once things are well, we might close business, we don't prospect, and the pipeline is empty. What we're going to do? Start running in that hamster wheel again till we have enough pipeline, and then we have that same procedure again. While we know that prospecting is a muscle and we need to constantly prospect, but it takes a lot of time away. And this is a way that I figured out that is quite time in, it's not as time consuming as normal prospecting. Of course, it also takes effort and continuity, but it is a way to generate constantly, have a full pipeline. Meaning, we all know that, right? The challenge that we have in today's B2B sales world is basically break through the noise. I don't know, Dom, you're a founder now. How many emails do you get like per day, per week from like sales reps, from other companies, advertisement emails?
It's dozens. I mean, it's plus 100 definitely in a week.
Yes.
Many go to spam immediately, but the ones that I get that break through the spam, hundreds, really.
Yes, definitely. And we all know that, right? And we're kind of part of this challenge, because I think the statistic is from Sales Hacker from 2021. It says we need 18 touches on average to get a response. And 90% of B2B meetings are set after touch point 6. So that already shows how full inboxes are. And I can fully second what you just said. I get like 20, 30, 40 emails on a daily, bi-daily base. And most of them I don't even look at. And then we have inbound, which of course we love inbound, and don't take this joke too serious, but we know how it is, right? We cannot fully rely on everything, and we want to be as independent as possible. And so we need basically new ways to get in touch with our prospect and get their intention. That being said, and this is how I want to start actually, is a statistic that I found quite shocking. Is that 91% of customers actually say they would give referrals, which is 9 out of 10. That's a pretty remarkable number, but only 11% of salespeople actually ask for it. And there's a very big gap, obviously. And it's obvious that we're leaving money on the table, that we're leaving pipeline on the table if we don't just ask. And it's, of course, it can be a simple question of, hey, who do you know who has the same problem? But it can also be, or same challenge as you, but it can also be, of course, more strategic, but a more strategic approach, and we can really leverage this to full extent. I can tell you from my experience, I think the last 4 customers that I won were all coming through referrals. And I think 30 to 50% of my pipeline were usually coming through referrals. Because I'm as lazy as probably most of us, and I don't like cold calling people and sending thousands of personalized emails, because I know it doesn't matter how personalized an email is. Even if I get it, it's rarely getting the attention it deserves. And so that's for all of us, right?
And Chris, when you say, just to clarify, when you say referral,
yes,
what do you mean? What do we mean by a referral?
That's a very good question. And exactly the one that's coming up now.
Great.
Is basically, what is the goal of a referral? And there's, I think, 2 ways to look at it. But the main definition for me is I would like to have a qualified introduction to that specific person. Of course, the further through the sales process, or the person is, or the higher their commitment is towards supporting me, the more likely it is they're going to do that. Meaning, if I get an early stage referral and know the relationship to that person that's going to make the referral isn't that deep, I might just be happy with using their name to reach out. But of course, if, for example, I ask you, Dom, if you know a specific person, and you say yes, I think the likelihood that you might make the introduction if they know the person is quite high. So if I sent you the written intro, you might just send that to the person, they see me, and I'm in full control. But so the goal is a qualified introduction, as how I would define it.
Great.
So that'd be a question where I would need the audience to participate, because I think it is something which is quite normal. Is there anyone here who would feel uncomfortable asking for a referral? And I assume the answer is yes.
And as with any meeting, we take silence as agreement. So everyone feels uncomfortable asking for referrals.
And the question is, of course, I mean, I've heard that a couple of times. The question is, why is that? Why do we feel uncomfortable asking? And I would love to hear some opinions on that, or some voices on that. But to answer that question, and so this was built to be a bit more interactive. There's another statistic I want to bring up, and that's the only 3 numbers. It's 84%. And if anybody has a guess what that 84% might be in context of referrals.
And anyone, please just type it in. And any
just take a guess. There's
any
no
idea? No?
Fair. Well, we're gonna have a lot of fun with the other slides that are coming up, or we're gonna be done in 5 minutes. No. No. So basically, and as I said before, 84% is the number of B2B buyers that start a buying process with a referral. Just let that sink in. 91% of people would give a referral. 84% always start with a referral, and only 11% of salespeople ask for it.
Crazy,
and that means it doesn't matter if we ask the question. They're going to ask for support anyways, meaning if I can tell you the story, when I was my previous company, I was looking for sales engagement platforms. Guess what's the first thing is that I do? Ask other sales leaders that I'm connected with, hey, by the way, are you using any sales engagement platform? And why do you use Outreach? Why do you use SalesLove? Why do you use Apollo, or whatever the other ones are? There are a couple of more, of course. Of course, I do it anyways. If they know someone who's, if their sales rep would have asked, hey, by the way, do you know someone who's looking for something like that? Oh, no, it comes to mind that Chris is looking for sales engagement platforms. And the second thing is, referrals are the most common thing nowadays ever. We are basically a referral society. What do I mean by that? Dom, I look at you all the time, so I can take you as a perfect example. When was the last time you went to a movie?
Now, the last time was since becoming a father, probably 9 months ago. Would have been faster or sooner, but now really 9 months ago, probably.
Okay, but what was the movie that you saw? Do you remember it?
Yeah. King Richard. King Richard, I think a tennis movie.
Nice. So now that I know Dom went to the cinema and watched King Richard, the first question that comes to mind is, for all of us, 100% is, how did you like it? Yeah, I like it. I would go there.
Yeah.
Would you watch it again? Would you recommend it? Same with restaurants, same with bars, same with festivals, same with holidays, hotels, city trips. It's the most common thing ever, and we do it all the time. Meaning it's totally normal to ask for referral, and we should completely normalize it. And also, not only when we ask for referrals, also when giving referrals. I mean, most of us probably read on LinkedIn occasionally, hey, I'm looking for a coach. I'm looking for topic A. I'm looking for topic B. Do you know someone? Just be proactive, help those people. Guess what you can do in 2 weeks? Ask them, hey, I saw you connected to person ABC. Can you make an intro? Likelihood that it's going to happen is pretty high. All right. That being said, it also has a pretty big impact on basically our business, meaning we can generate, of course, this is obvious, more pipeline to referrals, but it can make the difference between hitting quota and missing quota. I actually saw a statistic, don't know if that's completely true, that sales reps who exploit referrals as good as to the fullest earn 4 to 5 times more than sales reps who don't. I don't know if that number sounds pretty impressive and big, but I definitely see that people who ask for referrals can earn more money. We have a higher win rate, also very important, because the harder the lead, the higher the win rate. We know that. We have bigger deals because there's less negotiations. There's trust. There's no, oh, I would like to test this, kind of stuff that we hear all the time, because we're coming from a trusted source already. We're already credible. And then in the end, we also have some sort of network or peer pressure effects because everyone is using it. So are you the only person that's not using our tool, but the other solution? Well, fair enough. But people are going to speak about it. And that's then the power of community, where it gets really exciting. And even better, once you start leveraging referrals, you might get more referrals, because if I asked you, Dom, hey, Dom, how satisfied you're with our product? You'd be, yeah, sure, awesome. By the way you got to us is through a referral. it's common sense that I can ask you for a referral and that you feel like, well, now I should give a referral myself. So there's a lot to it by really leveraging this topic. And the good part is, the sad part is, it takes time in practice. It's like any other skill. We have to get used to it. But the good part is, once we get used to it and once we make it a habit, we can really see a big impact on our pipeline, on our performance, on, I could even see it on my mental well-being, because there was less stress, less running behind opportunity creations and things like that.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense what you said, because I mean, first of all, it's about standing out. The second is about, especially when you work at a smaller company, even more so, it's the credibility issue, right? When you reach out to somebody cold, how do you stand out from the noise? You don't, plus you're constantly fighting for credibility. Why is it worth my time talking to you? And if you get introduction from somebody that your prospect values, of course, chances are pretty high that you get to a qualified conversation, which is what we're fighting for every single day, right? Getting to more qualified conversations.
100%. And that's all what it's about. And then, of course, it helps along the sales cycle because it's faster. Deals are going to be bigger. There's less negotiation, etc.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get to that later, I'm sure. What I think, prediction or hypothesis, many people, that's also the reason why in Germany, fewer people go into sales, because they feel like they're constantly annoying people, they get on people's nerves and don't think they have anything to add of value. And then also shy away of asking for a referral because it's asking somebody for help. And we in Germany still have issues asking for help. And I think that's what the whole up is, though. It's all about the how, just like anything, right? It's a cold call can also not be annoying if you do it right. And I'm sure you talk about it later, how to ask for it. And because it's a sensitive topic, probably.
Definitely. Yeah. But what you bring up is very important. And it's the second thing is also the feeling that we've already asked for something. Like I hear that quite often, that people say, well, I've already asked for the deal. It feels weird to ask for more, but we have to come to the conclusion, to the point, or to accept that, well, we're actually helping our prospect. We did them a favor, and by allowing them working with us, at least it should be the case, because we are helping them solve their challenges. So it's kind of quite normal that now they can help us spread the word. Perfect. And I think a great starting point to when we speak about asking for referrals is asking yourself this. And as an individual, meaning, when would you give a referral? As a company, the same question. Mapping your sales process. So if a sales leader is here, mapping your sales process and asking yourself, is this a referral process? Is our product a referable service? Would you, and this is the most powerful question, would you recommend your own service, your own product? If the answer is no, there's a big, big challenge, of course, that you should start working on. So the answer should always be yes. And still, I would map out my process, my sales process, and see, is this as fluently as it could be? Is it as extraordinary as it could be? And what is actually a referable service? How does that look like? What's making a referable service? Is it when I meet my expectations, or is it when I exceed expectations? So how are we outstanding? How are we helping our customers? And I don't mean by selling. I mean, how are we helping them in general, right? Are we just open to support people and push them into different directions if needed? And how are we different than the rest of the market? And it's a give and take. And I think that's so important, because I get that quite often from recruiters, for example. They just send me a message like, I'm not interested. And they're like, hey, by the way, if you know someone, let me know. Yeah. Or, hey, can you help me send this message to like 5 people? I mean, not going to happen. Why would I help you? Like, if I don't really know you, right? And if you just ask me for help.
And that's the thing, Chris. Now, that's a good point. Now, if you have, let's say, junior level sales people in this masterclass or watching it later, they're going to say, but listen, I'm an SDR or BDR. I'm not the one having the closing relationship or the customer success relationship. So I'm not working with them day in and day out. I can't build credibility or somewhat that instills trust. I just had a couple of touch points with them, even more so in a very transactional environment. What do you say to that objection?
I think there's 2 things to it. The one is, everybody can help. Generally, I think that's the attitude or the mindset. And I can be with open eyes on LinkedIn when I speak to people and help them accomplish what they're looking for. If I know someone is looking for a job, I might push them in the direction of a headhunter or a company that is looking. If I know someone is looking for, I don't know, a software tool, I might even connect to people. Hey, by the way, we use this tool. You might want to have a reference call with this with this person, if that helps you. You can do a lot of things. And the second thing is, I get to that, I consider it a team effort. Meaning there's very multiple ways, and I think that's coming up in a second, when we can ask for referrals. But first, I want to tackle this, because this, I think, is very important to understand. And I think I mentioned it already, but what's the number one mistake when we're asking for referrals? Assuming no answers coming in, I'm going to give that answer right away. But is basically one or two things: is we're not asking, or we're just asking once. Because if I just ask someone, hey, by the way, next time you see someone with that problem, think about me, the likelihood of that getting a referral is quite low. It's better than not asking at all. But of course, there's more that we can do to really exploit this opportunity by staying in control. So, but the first question is, who can we ask? And I think that's very important, because we have multiple people in our sales cycles. We have multiple people that we're in contact with constantly. We have colleagues, we have friends, we have family, and basically everybody is connected to people. I think, let's say, everybody in the world through 6 corners, right? Meaning, even if you take the closest people you know and check who are they connected with on LinkedIn, just do it, take a look, and you'll see there's a couple of people that match your ICP. And Sales Navigator, by the way, is a great tool to do that. We're going to get into how to do it exactly, but you can basically filter for your ICP and type in contact from, and then you type in the name. For example, I can look who's matching my buyer persona is connected with Dom. So I can send Dom a message, hey, by the way, those 3 people, how good do you know them? You might be able to drop me an intro. And if the answer is no, I can still handle that.
Yeah.
No worries at all, right? So think about really who you know and who you know in the sales process. And of course, that's customers, that's existing customers, that's people that are within this participate in the sales cycle, your internal colleagues, your external network, etc. I got a lot of referrals just from people that I know, from friends, from just to kickstart it, and then could generate more referrals out of that. This is also very important, basically, because we all know the question, right? I don't know someone right away. So now you asked, you made that step. This is great. And it's the answer comes, yeah, I don't know someone right away. And that's, of course, pretty annoying. But so what can we do? And I kind of use the concept here of gross and net referrals. It's like with a salary, right? We all like our net salary to be as high as possible. And of course, to keep the amount between gross and net as little as possible. And it's the same with referrals, meaning gross referrals are referrals that we know are there, but they are not qualified yet. Meaning I can look on LinkedIn who you know, I can make notes during my call, I can ask about your network. Actually, I can ask where my prospect might get their information, where they're connected with, are they utilizing any networks. Might, by the way, even be interesting for me in general to show up there to those events. As that, and I should know my ICP, of course. And then, as I said, gross is we know there is someone, and net, the lead is qualified, and we have the contact information or strategy to approach them. So I like to make this distinction, and if I can make notes to my call, I can also make notes to who they're connected with, because we're going to speak about those topics anyways. And so if you make this part of your discovery, of your conversations, that's of course also great, a way to get more information. And of course, if they tell me they know someone, I might ask questions about them. Oh, that's awesome. How do you know them? That's pretty cool. They may tell you more about it, their relationship, etc.
And I think one important remark came in from Max saying, the whole topic around generating or asking for referrals is different in B2B than it is in B2C, right? So yes. Just for now, we're assuming that everyone here is B2B. I think that's what it's applying to, right? It has a little different connotation in B2C. So if anyone is in B2C, please flag it and tell us or ask questions to your context.
I actually have the experience that in B2C, meaning, so it depends on what kind of product I sell. If I sold finance products one-to-one, it's even easier to apply the concepts. If you sell, I don't know, if you work in a grocery store, of course, it's B2C, that's a total, or like sell technology, that might be totally different story. But yeah, overall, I use them in B2B, I use them in B2C. They work quite well.
And that's, I think, where also maybe some of that reputation is coming from, right? The financial insurance sales, you know, where when you start immediately, you need to bring your 20 best friends that you can sell it to and ask for referrals. I think maybe that is where that reputation is coming from. Oh no, I'm not letting myself down to asking for people that they know in a close environment to sell to. But it is, to me, that mindset that you described, Chris, is key. You do have something of value, right? I mean, of anything, like when you reach out to someone, when you cold call, when you warm call, when you ask for a referral, to not think that you're the bagger, right? Think that you have something of value that the other one is going to be grateful working with if your solution provides value. But that's, I think, the given that we assume for now.
Definitely. And you just bring up a very good point. There's multiple touch points that we have, of course. What is the best time to ask for a referral? I think that's the most common question. And the most common answer I get, right after signature. True. Definitely true. But can you think of more? Just think about it for a second. You can use the chat, of course, but you can also think it for yourself and write it down.
And to all of you, by the way, and I heard that you need to use the Q&A window. Okay, the Q&A works. We've gotten a couple of comments. So use that, please, instead of the chat. I'm looking at it constantly. Please share. When do you think is the best time besides the closing moment?
Because I heard
ask for a referral.
Because we have SDRs in here, right? We have probably some AEs. We might even have customer success rep.
So put it in there, because I would have said closing also as well, because that's where the emotional high is the highest.
Yeah.
It's, you know, asking for referral, asking for a success story. So that's what I would have said as well. Because then, of course, you know, you've just said yes. You've just given me another micro commitment or big commitment. So why not also going the next step and referring me to someone? We've gotten one comment in. Anyone else, please do not be shy. There are no silly answers. Please do share. The other one that we got every time, all the time.
All the time. Okay. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't go wrong with that. Okay.
Cool. There's actually a lot of truth to that, because we can basically ask anytime. So we can ask for referral in a cold call. We can ask in a demo. We can ask as a part of a negotiation when we hit certain milestones. After signature, after check-in or happiness calls, there's multiple ways. I'm not saying is use every cold call when you get a hard no to ask for a referral. That's not going to work out. However, and referral might also be, hey, I'm the wrong contact person. You might reach out to marketing. Oh, awesome. Who is that? Cool. Do you mind if I use your name and refer to these conversations? That name might open the door already. It can also be, hey, you might not have this problem right now, but you said it sounds pretty interesting. Who else might have this challenge right now that you know? You already got to know. So what's the worst thing that's happening? Get another one. Okay, fair enough. Doing a demo, right? When people say they are connected with other people, when you figure out, okay, this is not the right fit for them, you unqualify them, but you still had a good conversation. Definitely a good time to ask for referral. Get something out of it, out of your time investment. During a negotiation, if we have sales reps here, like we all know this discussion that comes up anyway. Can we do something about the price? Right? Heard that before? I've heard that
all the time,
like hundreds of times.
All the time.
Right? Hey, like in order to make this work, let's do the following. I need something to go to my manager. Let's do the following. You commit on giving me 2-3 qualified intros, and I see what I can do. It's just a deal with a handshake. Totally fine. You know, it doesn't have to be more than that. And of course, it's not happening all the time, but it's getting you closer towards a referral than not asking at all. And let's be honest, most sales rep that I work with will usually give you a discount anyway.
When do you use referrals, Chris, personally?
It depends on the process. So I really like them as part of negotiation because that's really powerful. Although that really takes some courage sometimes, and really some guts to ask the question. Signature, definitely, or after signature, between onboarding, check-in happiness calls when certain milestones are met. I really like to do a check-in happiness call, like 3 months, 6 months in, to really see so here's the thing. I wouldn't just make a call as like, hey, by the way, how's it going? By the way, can you make an intro? So I will use the happiness call to really get a feedback, an honest feedback on, hey, by the way, with us for 3 months, I would just like to get your feedback on the process. How did you perceive it? How happy are you with the product? And really get an honest feedback. And usually the answer is, yeah, really happy. Like, okay, awesome. Is there something we can do better? Like really asking those kind of questions. And then if they are really happy, awesome. Hey, by the way, if you're that happy, I know you're very well connected. I saw you connected to ABC. Do you mind making me an intro? Maybe that to edit here, I usually ask for 3 things. First is general feedback. Are they generally happy and would generally make a referral? Then I mention my ICP as like, okay, and I'm not asking if you know someone who might be interested, make me an intro. I ask very precise on who I'm looking for, meaning industry, meaning usually kind of their seniority, their position, because then they relate very much. And I mean, let's be honest, every sales leader knows other sales leaders. Every head of HR knows other head of HRs. And every head of operations knows other head of operations. So they're very well connected within their peers anyways. So it's pretty easy to ask for those. And then the number 3 is usually after the call, I send them a message. Hey, by the way, I saw you're connected to ABC. Do you mind making me an intro? I'm going to write that for you, make it as easy as possible.
Perfect. And I think the 2 things that you said, right? Also, I mean, every time that you've had a valuable conversation, like every time you've given something, because what you said is the give and take relationship, that being young, you've invested time into a demo where maybe you didn't come to consensus, maybe you disqualified them, but they really value the time, they value the input. Maybe they learned something, maybe especially when you're very consultative, and you can say, listen, it's not working out, but do you know someone? That's then easy to ask, I think, relatively easy, because sometimes even they feel that emotional indebtedness to you, if intended or not, but that's good to ask. And especially think that asking for a discount on their side, you always give something in return, right? I mean, discounts is a separate issue, but give me a referral, give me a testimonial that you can use to leverage, right, to get others. I think that's also very, very good timing.
Definitely. All things that you can use very well. I think overall, this is very important as a final note for this point is, it is a team effort, meaning you're in this together. If a customer success rep generates a referral, that goes back to the SDR that originally qualified the deal. If an AE does the same thing, it goes back to the SDR that qualified the deal initially. This is very important. And I did this myself sometimes that probably didn't push it through. And that's really not the right behavior, because we are in this together and we know how hard it is, right? So that's very important, I think, that we also plan this together, make the strategy together, and execute it together. And then, of course, everybody that's more going towards sales leaders then within this execution should, of course, participate from it. Meaning, of course, the SDR gets the lead again, the AE closes it again, and it goes back to the CS rep, but also in regards of a financial benefit, maybe.
There's one thing that came up, completely unrelated to what you just said, but are you incentivizing your team in any way to ask for referrals? Are you tracking it, or are you even making it a KPI, maybe even? Because from the stats that you just gave us, I'm just getting the thought, maybe it's even worth introducing a KPI or an OKR, whatever you want to call it, on that metric.
I don't have a team number on it, so I can't really give much insights into that. We started tracking it now. I tracked it for myself, of course, in regards of volume, and the biggest deals were most likely always referrals. But I don't have a big statistic on it. Also, making it as a standardized process is quite hard, because when do you put the task into your CRM system that automatically pops up? It's something that you have to do in the moment. You can, of course, do it with a check-in call. I think after signature, it's quite easy to say, okay, referral check-in call. But everything before is quite hard.
Yep, true.
But yeah, I think it's worth tracking it. And what I would track is, as a most of us use Salesforce or HubSpot, and we can easily track it as a source. Or like I think it's called source in Salesforce as well.
I think so too.
Like, is it a referral, or is it a, is it outbound, is it inbound, etc. Cool.
Great.
So that's, I think, the most important question is how to ask. And I think that's what we already started covering, and I think we're also coming to an end then, because we also want to make room for all kind of questions. And the how to ask is, I mean, I can now give you like 7 examples for each case. I think I don't really want to do that. It's just something I would encourage you to really write down and make it for yourself. Make a script for each of the scenarios. Why? Because if I give you the script, and there's no way it's, you're just going to copy it, and it's no way you're going to embrace it and use your own words and make it authentic. But what I would do is pretty much take those 7 scenarios. I think it was 7. I'm not 100% sure. 6. Write them down, and then write a sentence for each of them. There's no rocket science behind it. For an example, I mean, I've given you one for cold call, right? Hey, you might not have this problem. You said it sounds interesting, but you don't have this problem. So who is benefiting from it? Who do you know who has this challenge? My favorite, actually, if it comes to cold call, is more likely if we are not if it's the wrong person. I think we have that quite often. Okay, can you tell me, like, who's the person in charge? Awesome. Do you mind if I use your name reaching out? Cool. Ask a couple of more questions, because then you already have qualified information. That account. All right. When we go to the demo, and we said, like, usually the only time in the demo I would ask is if it really comes up, or if we unqualify them, meaning, hey, this is not for you, fine. But then again, explaining, hey, now you saw what we basically deliver. Who do you know? Not that difficult. We already spoke about negotiations. Certain milestones and check-in calls are kind of the same thing, right? Ask for feedback, ask how we did, celebrate those milestones. And the signature, I think, is the most basic one, because as you said, Dom, right? It's the highest commitment that we got and the highest moment of excitement. But basically saying, hey, and my favorite one is, hey, Dom, now you're with us, and you came to us to referral. Of course, it's common sense that they would give you a referral. So it's basically asking for, who do you know that might have the same problem within, and then describe your ICP, what you're looking for. As I said, ask if they would refer you in general. Second thing, describe what you're looking for. And third thing, check your Sales Navigator, who they're connected with, or check their LinkedIn contacts if you're not using Sales Navigator. Be aware, Sales Navigator shows you all the contacts, but I would say, I don't know what's for you, Dom, but I probably know 30% to 50% of my LinkedIn contacts. That I could say, yeah, that's where I met them, that's why I know them.
Totally.
So that's why I wouldn't start there.
Two thoughts I had there, because the one thing that I think is important that you said is not ask without any context, right? So give him the kind of company and buying persona that you're looking for, right? Hey,
yes,
listen, thanks. I heard you're happy, or you just said you're happy, extremely thrilled. Who else do you know at a company your size? You usually work with companies at that stage or that industry, or that use that tech stack, whatever it is, right? That you use as your ICP definition, and with people in your role. So who else are you connected with that you really think that could benefit, that they may have a challenge? So I think that is critical, because otherwise just like asking, well, who else do you know? And then nothing comes to mind, right? Usually.
100%. That's very important to be precise there, because once more, if you just ask, who do you know? And think about me next time you hear about that problem. That might be nice to get an inbound referral. They tell you, well, I heard from ABC, they're working with you, that's great, but most often that doesn't happen. And how it's happening is, for example, when you're working with, when I had my last cohort, and we're working with, can I say customer name?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I was working with Develop. Afterwards, there was a post that was made that they were really satisfied, and 2 people reached out to me, or reached out to Thomas, who made the post, and he said, "Well, hey, speak to Chris," and he was giving me the name, and I could reach out to them. So of course, that's amazing, but that's not within our control.
Yeah.
So the way it should be is me reaching out to Thomas. Hey, by the way, I saw you connected to person ABC. Can you make that intro? So I'm staying in control. All right. I just want to tackle this point as the last one, because remember, the number 1 mistake when asking about referrals is not asking at all or only asking once, right? So what can we do about it? And I think this is critical. This is really the game changer between 10% and 30% of pipeline, is stay in control of the process. Meaning, first thing is make it as easy as possible to make that introduction. Really important. What do I mean by that? I'm going to write that intro for them. I'm going to write that intro mail for them. I'm going to make it very easy for them to send that email to my prospect and put me in CC. Same thing on LinkedIn. Going to make it very easy. They send a message to this person that I want to reach out to and myself. And with that, I can reach out to them very easily. And I get that qualified intro. Very important. Stay in control. The second is, I wouldn't just ask once. Of course, I wouldn't build a sales cadence of 18 steps, but I would probably ask 2-3 times as like, hey, by the way, did you make that intro already? I didn't see it in my email. Maybe I wasn't CC, a little bit low barrier, or calling them again, telling them, hey, it means a lot to me. And what I like to do is, but I do it for all customers anyways, I'm going to send like a little gift, like a bottle of wine, with like a little note. Hey, by the way, this means a lot. Thanks for your help. Appreciate it. So I have the benefit that I work for Sparks, and we have sparkling wine. So, which is a nice little gimmick that I can use. But overall, yeah, that of course also helps a lot and increases I want to say it increases the pressure a bit, but helps you to stay ahead of it and really leverage that and build up that relationship that you want to build. Cool. That's the point where you can ask all your questions that you have. I think 4 or something like that in the chat, but I can read them.
So anyone, please get it out there. How do you, one thing, thanks Max, that you ask, how exactly do you make your contacts use your mail message copy? And let me build on that. Because there are 2 ways of writing an email for someone. One is you're writing an email or a LinkedIn message as if it came from them. Another way is you're writing it from you, saying, something that can truly forward, where they just add, hey, I can vouch for them, I work with them, love it. And below that, there's a message from you. Hey, if you wrote one to me, hey Dom, it would be great for you to connect me with company ABC that I know you know, because we think they have the same challenge that you had. Remember, we do ABC, can you please forward? And then they just forward, and they don't have to do anything else. They just do 1 line of customization. So how do you write emails on behalf of others?
Yes, so basically I use the wording that I would use as the first thing. And of course, my message is also very low level of, I would say, pressure, meaning it's like, hey, by the way, do you know this is how you connected to the person? Do you mind making me an intro? I can, of course, type that for you. No pressure, just let me know. And usually comes back, yeah, sure. Yeah, what do you want from them, etc. And then I'll explain around that, or I send that message. It really depends. It's also easier if you can do it by LinkedIn, but you can, of course, also use phone or follow up after an event. So if you do it in person, it's always easier because you can just talk about it and talk about the process and what's going to happen.
Yep. Because that is,
I'm happy to share. Right? Maybe we can do that with like a follow up. I'm happy to share 1 or 2 examples that I have. I have them in here, but the point is they're not anonymized completely. Yeah. So I don't want to share any customer data right now.
Of course, please do, Chris. Just as inspiration, right? Because personally, really, I just wrote an introduction on behalf of a company we work with to another of our customers. So I was in that situation, and that person wrote the email as if it came from me, and it was just completely not my style. And then it was too much work to work around. And I said, listen, just write, hey, Dom, I know you connected with XYZ. I think we can help them. Would you mind forwarding? And I just forward, the context is then clear. I don't need to explain much, but I can still write a warm 1 or 2 lines. That is how I love it on the receiving end. Yeah, but I think the different ways, but that's a very good point. Yeah?
Definitely. And I mean, you can do anything afterwards to stand out of the group again. Like what I also like to do is send a video, like after the video, after the message is sent. Message is sent, I record a little video, like a minute, send it over. The likelihood that it's getting seen is very high. And I think so all those kind of things make a difference. And when you're coming from a trusted source, the likelihood, as I said, people open that video is really, really, really good. And then you also have the personal note. And as I said, I think the last 3-4 deals that I closed, I'm not 100% sure, all coming from referrals, and referrals meaning qualified introductions or just using their name. So I saw a speaker at the event that I was referring to, just dropping that name already and speaking to him for like 2 minutes made a difference. By the CHRO opening my email and responding.
Perfect. And I have 2 more questions to you that came to me. One is, do you incentivize your customers to make referrals?
That's a good question. Right now, I don't. Can you do that? Of course. So I think that's a very powerful concept that we used to live at Eventbrite a couple of years ago. That we had some, I would say, let's say top referral givers or top referral program or something like that, where they would get a standardized contract saying they get a revenue share for each customer they bring in that we kind of approve. And that, of course, is something you can do and give 5 to 10% of revenue away. I think is something which is fair for you not having to generate that pipeline yourself and investing the time. I also read a post on this on LinkedIn today where someone said like he generated a side income, like a big side income through this topic itself by having relationships to different companies and by the products they like. So I think there's even ways to exploit this even more. I basically don't do it for customers so far, because for me, it's like, I say like a matter of honor to give a referral and to get them, but it's a mindset topic. But I know my previous team did that, and then they would reduce their fees or something like that. Same as with negotiation, as like a little gift to get back. So you can, of course, do that and consider that. Definitely. But I think for most of us, it does make a difference. Yeah. For most prospects, it doesn't.
Yep. And the other one is, again, let's come back to the very specific use case of me being an SDR, BDR, inside seller. So I don't own a customer relationship, and I can't do a happiness call after they're successful. How do I leverage that? What is your idea around that?
So I think the first thing that is important is it's a team effort, meaning we should sit down as managers with our SDR team or with our complete team, looking at the sales cycle and define the touch points that we would want to have. Like my previous company said, oh, our sales reps are not touching the customers anymore once they are handed over. And I personally had a completely different opinion, because if I sell to someone, by the way, it's the same as an SDR or as an AE. If I book a meeting with someone and I have a relationship, I want to get feedback. And I think it's totally fair if I call them and ask for feedback. Hey, Dom, how did you perceive that process? You know, I want to grow personally. I want to develop myself further. Awesome. That's so cool. Thank you so much for the feedback. And then I'm in a conversation and I can ask how it's going, how they're perceiving the conversation, like the things that are happening so far. Of course, and I can speak with my AE and look into what's happening in that deal. And is this a good moment to do that? Of course, I should do that. It's a no-brainer, right? But so of course I can do that as an SDR as well. Yeah. It's more the question of when do I do that and how do we align within the sales organization across the touch points that we're going to have.
Perfect. I think that's a great point, because coming back to that, our SDR that, Lawrence, he has a key result this quarter, which is qualified meetings generated through referrals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he really does. And it is now also for him, right? As you said, it's a team effort. Absolutely. Can you get back to a prospect that you reach out to saying, hey, I'm very happy. Remember our first call? I hear you're extremely happy. Beautiful. Actually, I'm just talking to other companies like yours. Anyone that's coming to mind that could benefit from it. It doesn't feel strange. It's not weird, right? It's absolutely something that you can and should do. Yeah.
Definitely. And as I said, it's a mindset topic of, no, it's the most common thing to do it anyways. And I think it speaks for actually yourself if you ask for feedback to grow personally. And if you ask also, and I think that's very important. If you just call to ask for a referral, our customer is going to sense that. You should kind of have the real reason to call them, and the referral should be the benefit, like the cherry on top. And if we incorporate that into our style, our results will even go up even more. And the second is know what to ask for. Be prepared. It's like with any other call, you do your research anyways, right? You research your prospects anyway. So why not take a look in who's connected to which person? So like, for example, after this call right now, what I would do is I would take a list of paper, like a piece of paper, would write down the 15 people that I know, that I'm the closest with, like friends, family that I know that, for example, on LinkedIn. And on the other side, I would take the 15 prospects that I have a very good relationship with. Not the best prospect, not the biggest one. Doesn't really matter. It's about the relationship that I had. And then I can go on LinkedIn Sales Navigator or on LinkedIn and really check who are they connected with. And if it's people that I'm close with, it's pretty easy to ask them, hey, by the way, I saw you connected to this person. You know, if I ask my best friend, I saw you connected to this person, would you mind shooting me an intro? He might ask why, or what do you want from them? But is there a general objection of doing that? I hope not. If I look at our relationship, right?
Otherwise, you got to question your relationships. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And the same then with prospects. And then I can build a strategy for each of them, call them, and send them an email, send them a LinkedIn message, depending, and execute a strategy. And you will see by the end of next week, if you start doing it tomorrow, you will already have measurable results.
Yeah, and I actually caught myself. I took note. I'm a victim of that, right? I don't know when the last time was that I went through my plus, I don't know, 5,000 connections, not a show off, but how much value there is. And the ones I know closely, there's so many of them. And especially to all of you that might be career changers, right? That had previous careers. You have a network, it's worth something. And it's about how you ask. But if you have a credible relationship with them, and I wrote that down too, reaching out, listen, we're just now working with companies of that size that are focusing on training. Who is coming to your mind that you would, or actually even more specific, as you said, I saw you are connected to XYZ. I can imagine they have the same challenge. What do you think? And if so, would you mind making an introduction? Much more powerful than prospecting for X hours, right? That you can do with one introduction.
Definitely. It saves so much time. It might be one touch point versus 17, 18 to get a response, right? We've seen that before. So it is it is a game changer. And I mean, I always did it this way. So, but I also see the moments you don't do it are the moments where I struggle the most with my pipeline, hitting my quota, etc. So it's exactly that. And if I keep using the tools again, it goes up again quite fast. There's a very high level of return.
Now we got one comment or question. How do you handle a no when asking for a referral?
Well, it depends, I guess, on the state of the process, right? So first of all, if someone says no, that's probably honest feedback. So I want to understand what's behind that. Meaning, if they are a happy customer, so let's take an example, they just renewed their contract, okay, very easy. And they say no, I would kind of ask myself why that is and kind of try to understand what's wrong within that customer experience. If it's after a demo or something like that, different story. If they say no, it's fine. Hey, never mind. I still might want to ask a question if I had a different feeling of okay, can you elaborate with what made you unsatisfy you? Because if you get a no, it basically means I'm not satisfied, or I don't feel that way.
Perfect. I
But
mean, just like any objection. Yeah. It's an invitation to ask further, right? And find out more. Yeah. Beautiful. Any other questions from any of you? You see, I just want to make sure I'm not ignoring anyone. Nothing coming so far. Chris, one thing we usually get, can you share where you share the slides? Is that okay?
I can share most of the slides. Yeah, I wrote through them again, but I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, so please just share them with me. I'll distribute them to all of you. Is it fine for people to connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yes, please go ahead. So my name's there, Christoph Karger. You can just find me on LinkedIn, add me. If you add a note that we met or that you saw this masterclass, also be very curious to hear your feedback, because I'm also want to improve all the time. And I also figured we had like a tougher start with asking and answering questions. But overall, of course, I also want to develop myself and grow further. And excited to hear your feedback. And if you're more if you feel more comfortable sharing one-on-one, I would much appreciate it. Also, and you're with Highrise, send it to me on Slack.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Chris. No, really, I learn something new every time I join the masterclasses. I did today too. Awesome. So you get a bouquet of flowers or maybe a sparkling wine for the deal that I close to the next referral. Really, I hold myself accountable to that. So thanks a lot. Highly appreciated, Chris. Really is. Awesome. And to all of you, thanks for joining. Hope that you had one little nugget or knowledge piece that you can take away with you. That's what we strive for. Have a beautiful rest of your night, week, and happy selling. See you soon. Thank you very much.